All right, let's go. All right, let's get started.
Yes, we're going to Merry Christmas to everyone out there. And,
Merry Christmas.
Dad, I always remember as a little kid, it always seems you were away a lot at Christmas because, in those days, not like today, right? You played Christmas Day.
Now that you think of it, we were away a lot. I
remember in Rochester, almost every Christmas you were away because I knew that's why. I think they sent you away because the Ice Capades used to come in.
Yeah, now that I think of it, I never thought of it that
That's
way.
why I don't like the Ice Capades. It meant that you were on a road trip for a week or 2 weeks and everything.
Well, I remember, you're going to ask me my favorite.
Some of your more memorable games on Christmas.
Yeah, I remember one. I'll never forget this as long as I live. It was in Springfield. And I was a guy standing in front all the time. And in those days, you used to be able to knock guys down and everything. And I went to knock this one guy down, and I missed, and I fell on my all fours, as they say. And did this guy give it to me? His name was Murray Belfour. And did he give it to me? You can't believe he jumped on top of me. And he was giving it to me, and he cut me 3 times. It was good cuts, too. I got one punch left because I was weak from getting hit. I grabbed the top of the net, and I said, I got to give it one good shot. And I give it one good shot, and I hit him square, right on the mouth. I'll never forget it. It was a great feeling. And it bounced off, and it hit a post. It used to have screen back in those days.
So you had a big post in the middle of it.
And I'm telling you, I was completely helpless. I was between my arm and my leg and everything, and I couldn't move. And a guy named Steve Kravchuk grabbed me, and on the other team. That's how bad it was. I mean, if Steve Kravchuk hadn't grabbed me by the arms and held me up against a screen, I would have clapped. And I remember sitting in the penalty box. We refused to go to the get stitched up. He wouldn't get stitched up and I wouldn't get stitched up. We're both sitting in the penalty box. I'll never forget this as long as I live. Both guys bleeding. You can't believe how we were bleeding. And he wouldn't get stitched and I wouldn't get stitched.
Peace to all out there on
He was a pretty
Day.
good. He turned into a pretty good hockey player. He was born, I wrote this down. He was born in Victoria, grew up in Regina, Saskatchewan. He played 306 games. He had 391 minutes and 360 games. He won the cup in 61. And in the playoffs, now get this, I mean, this is pretty good. 11 playoff games. He got 5 goals and 5 assists. He got the winning goal. 3rd overtime goal. I always followed him after that. And boy, he was a tough guy. And he was only 30 years old when he died. He died of cancer. He was in Hershey. But boy, did he give it to me. I lost that one, Tim. I would say 70-30. That's the one Christmas I remember, and it was on Christmas Day.
Now there was another time because again you were away Christmas Day and all the wives.
I
and
seem
the
to be
kids.
away a lot.
Well, that's what I mean. And so they would all come over to our place and Christmas Day, Tim, it was televised.
Wow.
Now this is a
back
big
in the
deal.
Day. So this would have been 60s, right?
This is the 60s, and your dad is going to be on TV, televised game. All the wives, we all got together to watch.
And I was benched.
So it was Rochester, and you were in Quebec.
Quebec, yeah. Yeah, and I sat for 2.5 periods, and I knew I was going to get on because Bugsy Watson, he could really throw him. He could throw him.
Well, you can imagine how disappointing it was because we're waiting for you to get on the ice.
He's
not on. He's not on. What's the matter? He's not on. And what happened?
Well, 2.5 periods I sat for it, and he benched me for Al Arbor. Al Arbor. I mean, Al Arbor was pretty good. I knew what he wanted. For me to go and stand in front of the net because Bugsy Watson was just crucifying guys that stood in front of the net. If you stood in front of the net in those days, you got it pretty good. So
like to Joe Crozier, your coach, he just said, Cherry, play forward?
No, yeah, he just said, no, he put me on he put I played defense, but I knew what he wanted.
Oh.
So I went up and stood in front of the net. Sure enough, Bugsy Watson give it to me just as bad. And we got into a fight, and it was a pretty good fight. Wasn't as good as the one with Balfour, that's for sure. Anyhow, I stood in front of the net, and he knocked me down, and it was a good fight and everything. So then we get in the penalty box. I get in the penalty box. It was funny. It's coming all back to me now, and it was a big penalty box too. It was great, and they had 2 policemen in there, and were they big policemen?
And in between you two, because you both go into the same box,
yeah,
right?
but these policemen were really big, gigantic. I was going to say, and I remember him coming in the penalty box, and I stepped up and I just whacked him pretty good. And now the police are really pissed off. One's got one arm, one got the other, and they got me right over the boards. And I looked out and I saw G. Gendron. I never forgot his name. He had white tape on a stick, and not many guys had white tape on a stick. And you could follow him around. I saw the tapes out. You could follow him around. I said, that guy's going to hit me over the head. And he came over and he corked me right over the head. It was a beauty.
So you
He corked me right over the head.
and
With the 2 cops holding you.
and you didn't split your head open or anything.
No, it didn't. It hit me, and it kind of glanced off a little bit. He couldn't get at me too good, or he would have really done a good job.
Now, remember, folks, this is all on TV, and we're all watching it.
Yeah. And so now, as I was skating off the ice, somebody threw a bag or some cosmetic bag or whatever it was, and I guess the girls up there, when they put on their makeup, they have, it's like
The little ink bottles they were using.
little ink bottles. Anyhow, I picked it up and I fired it back, and I hit this TV guy, and he was just there. He wasn't on TV. He was there with his daughter. Boy, I was in deep trouble. Crozier says, I want you to go in. Get this.
Well, before you get into that, you were saying that you thought you were in big trouble.
Oh, I thought I was.
Because the president of the American Hockey League was at the game.
President of was at the game. Jack Riley, he was at the game. He left early. He figured he was, the game's over.
He went to go to church.
He went to go to church with him.
It's Christmas Day.
Yeah. So anyhow, he hit me over the head. It was pretty good. Going off the ice, threw the bag, hit the guy in the head. So the next day, after the fight, Crozier come up to me and give me $100. And you know what I did? I went out and I couldn't afford it. There was a beautiful Scotch outfit in Quebec City, and I said, gee, I'd like to get that for Tim. I went and bought that. I think it was $35 or something like that, and had a tam. Had beautiful.
Yeah, I had a picture of it.
Yeah.
I got a picture in it.
And I give the rest of the guys to have a party.
So did Crozier do that because he felt bad, you think?
I don't know why he give it to me. I did a good job.
I guess
I did a good job. And anyhow, that's why I think he's a good coach, because he gave me $100. Okay, Cindy, what was your favorite gift?
Gift at Christmas?
Yeah.
You look back, and it was a toss-up, but more between a parakeet you got me and a bike. I got a Schwinn bike, but I have to say the bike was a pretty big deal. And it was a beauty. It was one of them.
And that bike became one of the biggest arguments that you and Dad and Mom had.
Well, it was a big, memorable fight that you and Mom got really into it, because you were usually on the same page as parents go.
Yeah.
And for once, Mom took my side of the argument.
Well, what the side was? This was the
No, tell us. So, Cindy, tell what.
Well, the situation was,
Yeah.
I loved this bike, and it was it was a Schwinn bike. It had spoke wheels. It had white walls. It had a built-in
white walls.
horn. Big horn in it. And it was, it was
beautiful.
Pink and white, and had a nice big seat.
It looked like Pee Wee Herman's bike.
Oh, really? Oh. Well, anyway, it was a big deal to me, but I bet you that bike's worth a lot of money
Probably
right now.
today it is, yeah.
But you grow up, you get older, and that was when the gears were coming in. Like 3 or 4 years, the gears on bikes were coming in, in the handlebars, and that was a pretty big deal. So you were a grown up, that you wanted to go into the.
Well, how old would you have been?
I would have been I'm probably about 12 now. I probably got the bike when I was 9 or 10. So you graduate into a bike with gears. That's you're big time. So Mom said I had to get rid of the bike, and she had a friend that had a daughter, and they said, we're going to give the bike to my friend's daughter. And I never really liked the daughter in the first place, let alone that. And then you made me clean up the bike. Clean it. You made me polish the spoke wheels. You made me clean the white walls. I had to Windex it all down. I had to put leather cleaner on the seat.
Crying.
And I was crying, and I don't know why I'm doing this. You're just giving her the bike.
Because your thing was you didn't say, why am I giving... If I'm giving the bike away,
I said,
why am I cleaning it up?
That's right. I'm not selling it to make anyone. I'm giving this bike to this girl. Why do I have to clean it? And Mom said, well, that's true, Dawn. She's giving you the bike. Why does she have to clean it? And boy, you and Mom went at it. I'm trying to teach her something. Do you remember that fight?
I remember the fight because we had so few.
That's right.
And I remember the fight.
I know.
Well, it wasn't a fight. It was
an argument.
It was pretty heated.
It was heated, and I relished it because, Mom took my side for once.
But needless to say, you cleaned the bike.
Oh, I cleaned the bike amongst tears and the whole thing. And then when I saved up for this bike. And, a three-gear bike, it was nothing. It didn't have fenders. It was skinny.
This is the new one you got.
This is the new one. It looked like nothing, right? And I remember you saying, this is the bike that you want rather than that beautiful bike you had. And I'm going. And then remember, Tim, in the old days when gears came in on bikes, you had to pedal backwards.
Yeah, you had to pedal backwards
change the gears.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't that much difference.
I don't know anything about bikes.
Yeah, well, it was a big deal, but then I was disappointed.
So that was your first. That was what you remember, right?
It was a memorable thing. And my parakeet. You eventually got me a parakeet one time. That was a big deal, too.
Yeah, and I said that Bill Sweeney got it, and he didn't get it.
Yeah, no, that was a canary.
Oh,
that was the canary that Bill Sweeney came over.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Tim, what is yours?
Well, you and Mom used to let me go on a road trip with the Bruins. That was the big gift all the time.
Oh, yeah?
Remember, I used to go to Toronto. I went to Toronto a couple of times.
Well, I
and
remember.
that was my thing. But I remember when I was around 11, I got my first really good pair of skates, CCM Tacks. And they had the kangaroo
Tackleberries.
Tackleberries, and they had the kangaroo hide bottom, and boy were they nice and light. Because the ones I had were kind of they were good skates, but a little bit cheaper. But these were like really good, and so I got them. And they were nice and comfortable. And Dad goes, "Does they hurt?" And I go, "Nope, they fit great." He goes, "Nope, get a smaller pair." So he maybe got a pair that I could barely get my feet in, but boy,
well, all good skaters have the skates too small. I mean, Bobby Orr's was 2 sizes smaller than his shoes, and Coffey's
was smaller. Dino Ciccarelli's, all the good skaters.
Dino Ciccarelli had to have all his toes broken.
After he had hammer toes, yeah.
With hammer toes.
So I remember getting that because it was, we got it and we went to a morning practice and the pro shop was open because there was a pro shop underneath, like the Boston Gardens was at the top in the old days, and then there was like stuff on shops underneath it. We got it there, and then Dan Canny sharpened them, and then I was able to go out and skate with them. So that was mine.
Oh, that was yours, eh?
So, Dad, when you were a little kid in Christmas, what was your most memorable?
Oh, I remember mine was my Uncle Ernie gave me was a pair of gloves and shin pads. Boy, that was Uncle Ernie gave me the very first thing I remember.
Yeah, because what I remember about Christmas when you were playing is we used to have Christmas dinner Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Right? Because you would either leave that night or you'd leave in the morning.
No, they used to make it in the morning.
In the morning. And then a lot of times you would always invite the single guys over.
Yeah, we were the ones that would have all the single guys over and everything.
Yeah,
like
Mom
that.
was like the little Mother Hubbard of all the single guys and the guys that were married but didn't have their wives there. You know what I mean? That left them, and so our house was always full with players.
I don't know about that, but anyhow, you know what I remember about that? The only time I remember, Mark Rayum. Well, he was a great guy, Mark Rayum. He was like an English gentleman. You know, he really was. Never said much. He says, "You ever notice?" He said, "the girls in Hershey are all kind of short and kind of pudgy." I says, "Yeah, Rose is from Hershey." Oh, he almost died. I mean, he almost died. He really did. Oh. And he wouldn't. And she wasn't pudgy at all. She was thin.
And you did that on purpose to embarrass.
No, it would just
But
happen.
you showed no mercy.
Yeah.
I showed no mercy
didn't let
to him.
up.
I said, yeah, roses from hers. Oh, boy. I tell you, he
And
almost...
Mom would be mad at you.
Yeah, she was mad at me.
That's right.
So, Dad and Cindy, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Spreads.ca. They're a Canadian-owned online casino and sportsbook. And if you sign up now and use the promo GRAPES, they'll match your deposit up to $500. They got 10 spins on the big wheel for some big dough. And your first sports bet, they'll spot you $25. And
Sounds pretty good to
and
me.
you can even bet on the World Juniors if you want.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
right.
bet on Canada. You're not going to get great odds, but most of the time you're going to win. So, Dad and Cindy, we got a whole bunch of questions the last little while from Twitter and from Facebook. So we'll answer a couple more before we end up. So this one is Brian and Bobby, and it says, "Okay, Don, this question comes from New Zealand.
New Zealand,
Where I listen to your podcast every Monday morning. Who's going to win the Vezina this year? Merry Christmas, Brian." So who's going to win the Vezina?
from New Zealand, then. Who's going to win the Vezina?
Yeah.
I would say Hellebuck. If he keeps playing the way he's been playing, and he keeps playing, boy, they're really playing him to death. I have to tell you that. But anyhow, that's how some guys like it. They like to play a lot. Well, Cheevers like to play a lot too, eh? Yeah. He didn't like to practice, but he liked to play.
Right. But you got to mention the Bruins guy, that Linus Ullmark. I mean, he's got to be up there too.
Well, and both of them, they got Swayman, and they have a good solid club. And boy, I'll tell you, you don't fool around with anybody. If you touch anybody on that club, there's always a guy there to back it up.
Okay, Dad, we got another question. This was from Andrew Miller. And it says, "What are your thoughts about the rumor?" So, Cindy, he must be Canadian.
It's a rumor.
Because he spells rumor with a U. Right? So he's
Spell
Canadian.
check.
A lot of rumors.
That the Bruins are going to go after Patrick Kane before the deadline. And if it's true, what would they give up?
I think that team is going so good. I think if you brought in another guy and you benched whoever comes in, somebody's going to be benched. And
not only benched, like one of your top guys is going to be benched.
Somebody would have to go that's in there, and a good player.
So you think Bergeron, Pasternak, Marchand, or Hall,
Pasternak won't go,
or Hall? Well, one of those guys won't get on the power play.
So one of those guys, you might upset that team. That team is going so good. I doubt if they go to Boston Bruins, because the reason he'd upset the players too much.
Okay, Dad, here's one from Adam Shedden, and it says, "Hey, Don, you're the best." Isn't that nice? You got a lot of fans out there, Dad.
Thank you. Huh?
Can the Calgary Flames ever gel as a team? So many of the key players were brought in through a trade. The team just seems really disjointed. You watch a power play, and 4 of the 5 guys on the ice were not Flames a year and a half ago. Is this an issue?
No, you want my honest opinion? I think it's Markstrom, that the goaltender. I really do. I don't think they have confidence in him, and when you don't have confidence in your goaltender, I hate to put all the power, all the blame on him, but that's what I think. And he only gets 25 shots a game, and that's not too many. I mean, I think
there's only 2 goalies that average less shots per game than Markstrom, and that's the Devils goalie and Seattle's goalie.
You have to watch that the players don't say to themselves, "What's the sense of playing hard, extra hard, because this guy's going to let in the goals?" Well, we want to wish the juniors good luck. Everybody will be watching the game.
This is Sunday morning. This is Christmas morning, everybody. They start tomorrow and
Boxing Day.
So how do you think they look? You watch the games.
They look big, I'll tell you that. They're big.
You know what? This is one of their oldest teams. And I remember Brian Kilray, who knows more about junior hockey than anybody. He always thought that we sent too young a team over.
Well, we were getting ready for the next year. Then they were getting ready for the next year.
He says it's a 19-year-old tournament. We should have all 19 years old. And this is their oldest team they've sent.
Want to wish them good luck, and I hope they win, and I hope they win every game, and I hope they're never close.